Hello and welcome to SONAR. I am Cour. I'm still Cour. This is Dean.
Hi, I'm Dean.
He's definitely Dean. That is him. That's what they call him. They call him
Yep.
definitely Dean.
On my birth certificate, definitely Dean.
Alliteration is actually really lame. This week we're gonna start with casting calls again because we did that last week and I didn't hate it. It gave me some time to think. So, Survive, the same one from last week, should still be open. Yes, there's currently no deadline on that one. So I mean, by the time you're watching this, it might be closed, but it should still be open. It hasn't been open for too long.
I mean, yeah, there's always the risk that the ones we bring up have closed by this point. The thing to do, if you're interested, is to run and check them, like, right away.
Yeah, I'd check them right away, because there's no guarantee these will still be open, especially because we're going to start recording these episodes ahead of time. But we will also leave I actually have been checking them before when I upload the video. So if you're watching if you're watching this right as it's been uploaded, or at least within a few days, I have updated the description if it is closed before we upload this.
I mean, it's probably safe to say if the link is not in the description, like, it's closed, right?
No, because I put a no. There's no link. I just put the name of the thing that we said was up, and then I put just kidding, it's closed, so that you're not like, hey, they forgot to put this in the description. You're just like, oh hey, Dean is silly, and this is closed already.
It's true.
All right,
silly.
Another casting call down there. Enchanted vocals. We got a handful of characters there. I think it was 2 males and a female character. Some interesting stuff. That one is very interesting.
Does that one involve singing?
No. Actually, as far as unless I glossed over. No, there's no singing involved. It's just called Enchanted Vocals.
Huh, okay.
It's an interesting title.
It is.
Also, Of Littler Paws. That one, it's got a very intriguing art style. I kind of like it. It's really angular. Is that? Would you describe it as angular?
Yeah, I would definitely describe it as angular.
It's kind of nice to see kind of individual art styles. It's very cartoonish, but it looks. I like the look of it. That's just me. That's just me. But it looks like a significantly interesting thing. That one actually just opened just about a week ago from when we're recording this. So. It should be open still. There's actually no deadline. They didn't even say there's no deadline. There's just nothing about a deadline in their casting call whatsoever, which we'll actually be talking about more today because today's episode is, hey, voice actors. I mean, that's not it. That's not it. Hey, animators. Hey, animators. Casting calls, ? How to do them less bad. Yeah, that's not the official title. I'll shorten it up a bit in the actual title.
Right.
But that's today's topic is how to make casting calls that aren't awful and that get all of the ladies. I mean voice actors. Is there a difference? Marginally. If you're an animator with an animation project, you probably do them a lot. Number one pet peeve in any casting call for me on YouTube is no utilization of the description. These are casting calls where the majority of the information that you're here for is in the video. And I think that's an awful way to do any casting call. If anything, the video aspect of a casting call is not even important. Like, maybe the only thing I could see you needing the video portion for is to show off some of the art, possibly. Maybe show off some music, maybe for you just to talk to people. But if anything, the video aspect is not important. If you could fit literally everything I need to know about a casting call in the description, that will make my life so much easier. Especially when the lines that I'm reading off for these characters, if that's in the video, that's just gonna bother me. I don't know, maybe that's just me. What do you think, Riz?
I think that my preference, like my favorite casting call kind of setup, I do love when there's a little like animation snippet at the beginning just so I can get a feel for like, oh, this person really can animate, they know what they're doing. In casting calls, I like to see, like little frames with fresh drawings of the characters and like a brief description. Like, Yeah, I say fresh drawings because I want to get to something that really bothers me later. About casting calls.
Except why not right now?
Okay, fine, I'll interrupt what I'm currently saying. One thing that I really dislike is when people put up a picture and then they put a note next to it saying like, sorry, this is really old, God, it's so ugly. No. Okay, this is the thing. If I'm going to audition for your series, I'm going to expect you to draw several frames because that's what animation is composed of, you know?
Preach
and
it.
So if you can't bother to draw a new up-to-date picture of that character specifically for the casting call, I can't guarantee that you're up to the task of actually animating a project.
Hallelujah.
You know? It could just be me. But it really
No,
bothers me when I see that. When I'm like, no, you have to draw these pictures. You have to draw this character all the time. Do it to get the voice actors, you know? If you want the perfect voice, you've got to put forth the effort on your part too.
Exactly.
So, okay, then now with that said, I will transition. So, I like when casting calls have, yes, like I said, a good, fresh image of that character with, you know, the character's name. If the animator has a voice range in mind, I like that to be noted. And then some, like, 3 words to describe their personality or something like that, you know? Just so I can get a feel and be like, okay, I think that I can look into this character. Then what I like to do from there, go into the description, find that character's name, and read the lines there. That's personally my preference, where the video shows me their art style, shows me that they can animate, that they're willing to draw fresh pictures, and then just lets me identify which characters I might be able to voice, so that I can go further into the description and actually read the audition lines.
Yeah, definitely. And that I want to actually, I should have opened with this, but a small disclaimer, there's a similar property in making a casting call to making an audition, and that is that you can have a lot of auditions for a really poorly made casting call. Just like you can get cast for a really poorly made audition. But the point is, if you want to streamline the process and make this easier for the voice actors, then these are just some tips to follow, some things that you should probably try doing, and some things you should probably avoid. That's the purpose of this episode, not to just...
There are no hard and fast rules, but there are, I think, some guidelines, and we might not be the best people to, like, say what those guidelines are, but being voice actors ourselves, as, you know, unprofessional as we may be at this moment, we do have some experience just with what we've seen in the past with casting calls, and what we found we like, what we found we dislike.
Speaking of rules, segue. Yes, I'm jumping right on that segue train.
That was great.
Okay, so I see this in so many casting calls, and it's just so pointless. They have like rules. Please read all the rules. And then the rules are things like, you must have a good microphone. You must have no background noise. You must be able to act.
Emotion, yeah.
You must have emotion. And it's like, if you need to tell them these things, then they're not going to be up to the task of actually voice acting for you. If you have to tell them you need to sound like you're really there, you need to actually emote, then they're not going to be a good enough voice actor to pull off your character.
Yeah,
That's just...
I'm pretty sure there's no one who's like, oh, I need to use emotion? Okay, and then they're suddenly a ton better. I don't think that's ever happened.
It's like you take your car to the mechanic and you're like, hey, once you're done fixing this car, I want it to actually work. They're going to be like, no, duh. I know what I'm doing.
That's my duh.
Stop being stupid and let me fix your car.
So they're just a lot of pointless. Like, I can get why people might think that they need to put that, because, you know, YouTube is a fairly there are a lot of, you know, like, young or amateur people who do try, and you have to start somewhere. I understand that. But yes, those are some really basic things that I think if they aren't willing to figure it out for themselves or to look it up or whatever, yeah, they probably aren't going to be committed or the best addition to your project in the first place. So, those are rules that you think shouldn't really be there, should be omitted, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What about rules that you think are okay to have? Because I have a couple.
I can't really think of a lot, to be honest.
I think that one rule that's fine to have is some animators specifically want only boys to audition for male characters, or only females to audition for female characters, you know?
And I mean, honestly, how do you know that I'm a male? Like, if I can sound like a female, how do you know that I'm a guy? So it's a rule that you...
pictures you sent.
If you have a rule like that, there's just no way to enforce it. And so it's really just pointless, I would say.
So I would say, if you're creating rules for your casting call, really think about whether or not they're necessary.
Or even make sense.
Or even make sense. That is fair, yeah, that is fair.
Other pet peeve of mine, scrolling text. Don't have your text scroll upward at all. It doesn't even look good, to be honest. It doesn't even look good, so why are you doing it? It just makes it harder for me to pause the video on a good frame where I can see and read everything.
Yeah.
That's just please don't. Oh, another pet peeve. If you have already cast a character before you're posting the casting call, then don't put them in the casting call.
Agreed.
It's pointless, especially if you're casting yourself as a character. There's absolutely no reason to put the character that you wrote in for yourself in your casting call. I don't care that there's this really amazing character who sounds like this and you're gonna play them, because that's not the purpose of the casting call. The casting call is not there for you to brag about the character that you gave yourself. It's there so that we, the voice actors, can help you make your project, and that doesn't serve a purpose.
I do have one instance where I think it's okay, and actually probably where you should list yourself if in that kind of situation. If you're doing an animation based upon a canon series, like I know a lot of YouTube animators that, we frequent are like Warriors fans. So if you're going to make an animation based upon like the Warriors series, and you're clearly like there's not a main character in the casting call, people are gonna ask questions. And so I think at that point it's fair to say, by the way, I'm going to be voicing X character, just so everyone knows that you didn't forget.
Yeah.
But if it's a fan-made thing where we don't even know who's involved, like what characters, yeah, I really don't think there's a need to say like, yes, I'm voicing Saphira. Like, we get it.
I'm kind of a big deal. I got cast in my own animation.
They loved me. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's just, they're like, you're perfect. You're perfect for this role. No, you're just the perfect human being.
But I do definitely agree, though, because there have been a lot of casting calls where I've been looking at the characters and I'm like, oh, I could do this character, and then they're already taken.
It's so bad.
Yeah. So
now I want to talk about deadlines for a bit. There are 2 ways you can have a really bad deadline. Actually, probably three. I'm going to say, final answer, 3. 3 ways you can have a poorly made deadline. First one.
I hope you can actually get all 3 then.
First one, too short. If you have a cast of more than one character, and you're trying to, and any of them are male, and you're trying to get them all cast within a week, you're gonna get maybe 3 auditions in time. Maybe. It takes, unless you're super popular and have like 1,000 subscribers, so I guess there's an exception to this, but the point is, if you do not provide enough time for people to find your video and then take the time out of their day to submit for your casting call, then you're not gonna get the greatest voices you can. You're gonna have to settle for some lesser voices. The second way you can have a really poorly made deadline is too long. I've seen casting calls that were open for more than 6 months, and it's just the worst thing, because by the time it's closed, I'm just like, I don't even care about this anymore. I was excited for it, and now I'm not, and I don't even care if I don't get cast. And if I do get cast, and that's the thing though, is I know some voice actors who, like, they'll audition for something and then they'll forget about it, like in a week. So if you if you have it open for 6 months, some people are gonna not even remember. That's half a year, and then they're gonna question, well, if it took them 6 months to find these voice actors, how long is it gonna take for them to animate?
Yeah, I just remember, sorry, really quick, it wasn't even that long of a deadline, but I saw that like a casting call had closed and the announcement video was up, so I told a voice acting friend, congratulations on the part. And they're like, what part? So I said, oh, in this animation. And they did not even recognize the title. I just had to, like, copy and send them the link. It was really bad.
Possibly an isolated incident, or possibly the result of a too long casting call.
Who knows?
The world may never know.
Alright, your third thing.
The third thing that can ruin a deadline is the deadline that never ends. And if you have voice acted for long, you all know this deadline. It's the deadline that keeps getting put off because, well, they're not getting enough auditions. Or I guess, okay, maybe there's 4. Closing it and then then taking like 5 years to actually announce who you've picked. That's annoying. Oh my gosh,
what about
there's
the 5th one where they don't have a deadline?
Oh, where they don't have yeah, that can be bad. It can work, but it can be bad. There's no real definite answer there.
Well, it's
Speaking
bad
of
for me because I
bad for
always
you.
am like, I'm
You
gonna
don't like
audition
it.
for this, and then it closes right when I like open my software.
Yeah. Speaking of... Wait, what did you say? You said... Oh, crap. I lost it. I was gonna segue, and then I broke it.
Oh,
I broke my segue.
You broke
Those
your
are
segue.
expensive to repair.
I was
Those are
about to say
really
that.
expensive to repair. What? Let's see. You said... No definite...
said-
There's... Speaking of
Ah.
no definite answers... Actually kind of related to rules still.
Okay.
Late submissions. Accepting late submissions. There's kind of 2 ends of the spectrum here. Some people see it as kind of like like they see casting calls as like some kind of contest. Like, I won, guys, I won, and it's not what it is. But then some casting calls do it that way too. They're like, if you do not do these specific things, then you will not get cast. And it's like, do you really mean that though? Like, if Mike Joseph didn't put the exact thing that you said in the subject line of his email, and he nailed the character, would you not cast him? Similarly, if I submit my audition 10 minutes after midnight the day that it closes, and I nail the part, and I'm like your literal headcanon, are you not going to cast me? I think that's one of the things is, and I feel bad saying this because now I'm gonna have to do it with my own casting call, and so I'm gonna have to hold myself up to this standard. But if someone gives you a great audition, that's more important than them adding the winky face in the subject line of their email, or having the random word that you made up in their comment on your YouTube video to make sure that they read all the rules. And I don't know, it's just you got to be lenient. You can't just be so just silly.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever actually encountered that, but I can say, as far as accepting late submissions go, I am absolutely fine with accepting. Yeah, well, with accepting late submissions to a point is
To
I
a
guess what I
degree.
mean.
I'd say maybe
I
a
hate
week.
when it leads to extensions, or where it's like a month after it's closed and they're still accepting. You know which one I'm looking at.
Oh, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
That was annoying as
That was
ugh.
gross, and they didn't cast me either, so that just makes me doubly irritated with them.
Yeah, so I mean, like 10 minutes after midnight, totally fine. Maybe a few days later, if you're still working, like through
Yeah.
the announcement video, if you're still listening to all of, like the auditions that you received, that's fine. Just don't be waiting for I don't want you to be waiting another 2 weeks because someone said they were going to audition.
Yeah, no.
Well, how do you feel about when a casting call has a deadline, but they cast characters throughout?
I knew you were going to bring that up. I knew you were going to bring that up.
I
knew
had
it.
to bring it up.
I knew it.
I had to.
Honestly, I'm very divided on this topic, because there's 2 sides to it. Like, sometimes you just get that guy, and he is your headcanon. Like, you hear them, and the moment you hear them speak those lines, the entire character in your mind changes to just be that person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the clouds open up, and there's like angels singing in a beam of light, and this person's voice just descends from the heavens, and you're like, this is that voice
Yeah,
that I
mean,
needed.
that's what people have said about me, so I know that's true.
And that's Riz. That's Dean. That's this man right here. He is
that's only happened,
the chosen
that's
voice.
only happened to me twice so far.
He is the Messiah.
But I'm interrupting you. That's right.
But anyways, the other side of it is...
Oh, all right. I won't interrupt you. Never mind.
Sometimes it's not that voice, and you're just like, this guy will do. And then you close it, and then someone like Dean comes along, and they're like, ooh, I'm gonna audition for this guy. And then he's like, oh, wait, they've already been cast. To someone who may not even have been the best option. There's two sides to it, I feel like.
So, I'm gonna give my perspective or whatever now, my thoughts on it. So yes, I have been that person like twice who, before the casting call was over, I was emailed and they're like, okay, you are, the headcanon that I imagined for this character. I think that you're perfect. You are him now. Like, I got the role like a month before it actually closed, it felt great, and I was happy that they found, the actor that they wanted. But I can say that even if you do find your headcanon, and yes, the clouds part and angels come down singing, why can't you wait? If they really are that perfect, you're gonna pick them in the end. Like, I don't see the huge benefit to waiting a little bit longer and then announcing them along with everyone else in the cast. If they are that perfect, no one else is gonna overthrow them. Or if someone does overthrow them, then you found the even more perfect actor. And what more could you ask for at that point? And I've had situations, yes, where I've looked at a casting call, it was still open for quite a while, but all of the characters that I could fit were already taken. And then when the announcement video comes out, it's like people were multicast. That's not fun, So, I can see where the headcanon thing would come in, and I get it. But if they really are that perfect, I don't see why you couldn't wait a little bit longer.
That's another thing I wanted to talk about is headcanons.
Okay.
Something that can absolutely destroy your animation project is having too precise of a headcanon. I've seen projects where I got cast in it, but the project never happened because they had these characters with a very intensely specific... They're like, if you don't... It was to the point to where they were like, if you don't sound just like this headcanon, don't even audition.
Ooh.
And that's just awful. That's awful. The problem is 9 out of 10 times you're not gonna find someone who can voice that exact character. It's not gonna happen. It's just ridiculous. And so having too solid of a head... In fact, when I was writing my motion comic, I was very actively trying to prevent myself from having too solid of a headcanon for any of the characters, because I knew if I go into these auditions looking for a very, very specific sound, it's very likely I won't find it. But if you go into a casting call, hosting it, and you're thinking about how can this character sound, and you're more open to different ideas, you might find this sound for a character that you never would have thought of. People texting me while I'm recording, I'm gonna kill you, Tim.
How dare they?
Tim, I'm gonna kill you. You are going to die.
To jump into that, well, there's this moment of silence, I suppose. I agree that you should definitely try to be open-minded, try to be more lenient, because, yeah, you might find a voice that, you hadn't thought of that really fits the character. However, I don't think it's bad to have a headcanon in mind, and if you do, if you want to say in the casting call, I imagine him sounding like Luke Skywalker, do it, provide the kind of voice that you want to hear from your auditions. But yeah, don't limit it to just that, or don't make it sound exactly like, Hamill's the one delivering it or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, yeah, chances are you're not going to find that, and then you're just going to be disappointed, or your project's never gonna start. So I don't think it's bad to have a voice in mind and to tell the people, but when you only allow that, that's where the issue is.
Yeah. I know I had something else to talk about.
That was a great contribution there.
I know I had something else to talk about, and then Tim just ruined my entire recording session here. We'll have to start the episode over. All right, well, we're starting to just kind of get way off track here. So I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the SONAR Show with Dean and Cour and sometimes other people. Question mark? Guest stars? Is that a thing? Maybe. Who knows? It might be a thing. Thank you guys for listening. We will be here next week. Probably not, but I'll try and make this happen by next week. I'm trying so hard to make this consistent, and then life just happens, and it says, hey, yeah, you're going camping for, like, forever, and you won't be able to record with Dean, and you'll just cry. And so, we're sorry. We're gonna try and make this consistent. It's not gonna happen, but it's gonna kind of maybe happen a little bit. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we'll see you next week, maybe talking about probably, hey, we actually did this thing. We sent out questionnaires to a bunch of animators, and to expand on last week's episode, and I'm going to say last week's episode every episode, rather than saying last episode just because I feel like it, so just get used to it. It's a lie, but it's a lie we'll all just pretend to believe. We talked about what to do to make a good audition, and we actually took some of the ideas that we thought about on that episode, and actually just asked a bunch of animators, and so they're going to tell us what they actually think, and we'll actually know. Maybe. Maybe we won't. We'll try. Have a beautiful week. Thanks for listening. And stay frosty. You gonna say goodbye, Dean?
Nope.
Alright.